Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the Endless Runner tutorial. So in this one we do quite a lot of things. So the first thing we did is we got rid of the plane we had, and we actually start spawning stuff a little bit earlier on. So as you can tell, that's my starting view, then it goes back in this mode. Then we also create the random function, so it always creates some new tiles. As you can tell, so the first one is a normal bridge, the second one is a double bridge, into a normal, into a single barrel, and it just keeps going like this. We also delete the tiles behind the player as well, so we don't go out of memory, so we clean up after ourselves. Alright guys, so without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so what we're gonna do is first get rid of that plane, that first starting plane, and then after that we're gonna make sure we also delete some bridges. Because right now if we just keep on going forever, again we're gonna get some kind of out of memory exception, because this bridge is still there and we're still creating new forever. So guys, let's go ahead and just turn off this plane right now. Not turn off, but completely delete it. Now of course when we press play, this is not something we want to see. We don't want to see this down here. So what we're going to do is actually bump up, or I mean bump down the span z in our tile manager script. So span z, let's go ahead and make sure it is equal to -12, which is pretty much just a tile length. So if we do that, now if we press play, we are actually spawning a bridge right there at the very beginning. And exactly here, this is where we spawn at the end of that bridge. So maybe we could actually be putting it on, say, -6 instead. It really depends on your liking and also what your camera sees at the beginning. So with -6 I'm actually fine. This is actually what I see. And am I close to seeing the end of it? I'm not sure actually. So I've got this much distance, which is fine with me. Okay. So once that is done, we are going to go ahead and just make sure we delete some tiles. So it's fairly simple. As you can tell right now, we have a moment at one point where we trigger a function that spawns a new one. When that function is called, we could actually use the same code, the code area, to delete a new tile. So right here, this is when it happens. When we cross a certain point, we create a new tile. At the same time, let's go ahead and delete any tile. So we're going to do delete tile just below that. So we've got the span tile function. Now let's go ahead and write the private void delete tile like this. Oops. But now we've got one problem. We never actually keep track of which tile we have and which tile exists. So we are going to create a list containing all that information. So in order to use lists in Unity, well, not in Unity, in C# in general, you gotta go up here and say using system.collection.generic. Now we're allowed to use the list type. So we got this up here. We are going to declare a new field, a private list of game object that we're going to call, say, active tiles, like this. And the thing with lists is that you have to instantiate them before you use them. So we could be saying right here in the declaration is equal to a new list of game object like this, but I'll just keep this for the start. So active tiles, I'll leave it like that here, and I'll just, in the start, I'll say active tiles is equal to a new list of game object. Okay. So whenever we spawn a tile, let's go ahead and just put it inside of a list. So active tiles.add, and we're going to add go. Like so. And whenever we want to delete something, we're just going to take the first element of the list and destroy it. So destroy active tiles at the index 0. And once we destroy the game object, we got to be removing it from the list. So active tiles dot remove at the index 0, like this. Let's have a look at this in the game. I'm going to press play, then look from inside of here, And as you can tell, our behavior pretty much works, but we do have some error in terms of, well, this player in general. We shouldn't be destroying the tiles so early on. So what we're going to do is actually go and declare ourselves a safe zone. So we are going to go up here, anywhere up here, and I'll say private float safe zone is now equal to, say, something like 15. And now before we actually call this if statement, we're going to say player transform.position.z minus safe zone. Now this way it should wait another 15 meters before actually deleting the object, so that's 3 seconds. And as you can tell, we now get a normal behavior. So that's pretty much how it should be acting in the first place. But there's also one more thing that we need to fix with this, pretty much this tile manager, and it is the fact that it pretty much always found the same exact bridge. So we need to add some random in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this case is I'd like my random, because we're going to be coding our own random function, I'd like my random to never actually pick the last prefab I had. Since I only have 3, I don't want to have the same prefab twice happening in a row. So what I'm going to do up here is I'll say private int last prefab index is equal to 0 in this case. And I just leave that here for now, and then we're going to go ahead and just declare ourselves another function. Down here, let's declare a private int random prefab index, which is not going to take in anything as a parameter, but it is going to use the field up here, so that last prefab index field. So we're going to say if tile prefab, let's start with a safety check. So if tile prefab.length is smaller or equal to 1, then let's return 0. So if there is only one prefab in the list, let's just go ahead and return the first one. And we are going to go ahead and just say, or actually declare a random index. So int random index, which is going to be our return value as well, is equal to last prefab index. And now we're going to say while random index is equal to that last prefab index, so we're sure that it's going to run this at least once. So as long as we have the same exact index that we had previously, we're going to say random index is equal to random, which is a static type, dot range, not type, sorry, class, and then we're going to do get me a number in between 0 and also the length of the array, so tile prefab dot length. Now if it chooses the same exact prefab as we had last time, then it's going to come back in the while statement, because this is still true. And at one point it's going to pick something different, and when that happens we're going to say last prefab index is equal to random index, and we're going to return that random index as well. Oops, random index like this. Okay, now all we're going to do is take this and replace our instantiate. So we instantiate tile prefab at the index random prefab index. Oops, random prefab index like this, and now it should pretty much spawn some random bridge. Okay, so we've just got an error, but as you can tell we're spawning different bridges now. So that's the second one, that's the one with 2 barrels, that's the one with 1 barrel, that's the one with 2 barrel, that's the one with 1 barrel. Do we still get the normal bridge? Oops. And I think we do get, yeah, right here we got a normal bridge. So we get all 3 types right now, and that's exactly what we'd like to have. The only problem we have right now is at the beginning we can't control our player, but he's still hitting on some barrel. He's still like getting the wrong prefab. Every time we spawn our level, we'd like him to have the clean bridge, the one that has nothing on it. So not this one, not this one, not this one. And it could actually go on for quite a long time actually, so I'm just going to fix it. what we have to say is, remember right here we said spawn tile, and if tile, well, not if we don't define what is the prefab index, then it's going to be equal to -1, which is what we want most of the time. We want this to be equal to -1 because that means just pick me a random one. In our own logic, that means just pick me a random one. So right here, we're going to say if prefab index is equal to -1. So if it is equal to -1, go ahead and run our code, this code, the one we just created. Else, if it is not equal to -1, then let's just go ahead and say go is equal to instantiate, and we instantiate tile prefab at the index prefab index, the one we get in parameters, this one. And it's not going to be equal to -1, because if it was going to be equal to -1, then it would be running this code instead. So as game object, and we should now be good to go. So this is going to work. Now we're going to make sure that at the very beginning, so that's over here, if say I is smaller than 2, so if I is smaller than 2, go ahead and spawn me tile 0. Else just spawn some random tiles. So we know that this is going to be run 7 times, and the two first iteration, it is going to spawn a normal bridge every single time. So let's hit play on this and have a look. Going to hit pause, and that's the first bridge right here. So normal bridge, and the second one is also a normal bridge. If we keep going, our animation is now complete, and we're now ready to dodge some barrels. Like so. And that pretty much concludes it for this episode, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. If you learned something or if you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like. I really appreciate that. If you have any comment or question, you can also leave them in the comment section below, and I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. Other than that, subscribe for more. I'll be making a lot more in the future. So guys, thanks a lot for watching once more, and I'll be seeing you in the next episode.